Today for your assignment, I'm just going to go through several type of problems that you can expect to see on your final. If you print out a copy of this that I'll have on here, you can jot down any notes that you might want to add to it, and you can use it when you take your final. Your final will be taken on Thursday virtually, and then you are done for the term. So you will have nothing other than makeup work to work on Friday. And then we'll start back again on Tuesday. I believe that's the 19th. So just kind of finish out the rest of the week. You'll work on this, the first part of this review today, the second part of this review tomorrow. Your final will be on Thursday, and then Friday again will be the just makeup day, so make up your stuff. So of course we're going to go back through everything that we've done, so some of this I'm sure is going to seem repetitious, some will be easier than others. The thing that you need to make sure of here when you're working with simplifying is that the sign goes with the number that it's in front of. So this is like 8 minus 10k or negative 2k. I do 8 minus 10 and then they both get a k. That would be my final answer. When you're distributing, don't forget to go to both parts. I know most of you are pretty good at this, so 9 times 6 is 54v minus 54. A lot of people get into the habit of doing the plus negative thing, but stay away from that because your answers are going to be multiple choice, and so they'll always be written in the most simplified form possible, and plus negative is less simple than just writing minus. If you have to distribute then combine like terms, make sure that you do the distributing part first. So 50n plus 100 minus 1, then that would translate to 50n plus 99. That would be my final answer on that one, final answer here. One thing that I want to point out to you, if you have something like 4 minus 3 parenthesis x plus 5, make sure that you distribute first. You cannot do that subtraction. So this would be 4 minus 3x minus 15, or negative 3x minus whatever 4 minus 15 is, 11 would be the final answer on that one. So again, distribute before you combine like terms. Be careful of problems like that. This is just sort of an added example on there that you may want to take note of. When you're solving, keep in mind that you just have to undo what was done to the variable. If you added, you subtract. If you subtract, you add. If you multiply, you divide. If you divide, you multiply. Undo. When we see problems like these, we have two choices. Either I can distribute it through and then solve, or I can divide the negative 3 out and then solve. So I'd get m equals 12. Either method that I do is fine, distribute and then solve, or divide it out and then solve. It's just that I have to be careful when I get to absolute value problems that I don't do, I don't distribute into the absolute value, because that can't be done. When it gets to these more complicated problems, it's just a matter of simplifying. So distributing 8 plus 20v plus 3v equals 4v plus 27, and then continuing to simplify 8 plus 23v equals 4v plus 27. Remove one of the variable parts. Usually I go with the smaller one, if that's an option. So this would be 8 plus 19v equals 27. I've got to bring that up and over. 8 plus 19v equals 27, minus the 8, 19v equals 19, divide by 19, divide by 19, final answer v equals 1. Now I know that sometimes you guys can do this maybe with less steps. You'll skip steps, you do things. Just be careful when you're solving not to skip too many steps. Sometimes we get too quick in our work and then forget. Now keep in mind there are a couple different things that can happen. So when I do this next problem, I'm gonna make my room so that separates it. So this is negative 4x minus 20. There's nothing I can do over there. I'll distribute this equals negative 6x minus 12 plus 2x. Now when I start to combine like terms, I get negative 4x minus 20 equals negative 4x minus 12. When I add my 4x, I end up with negative 20 equals negative 12. And this is impossible. Negative 20 will never equal negative 12. So we say no solution. If you come up with something that is never going to be true, it is a no solution situation. Whereas in a problem like number 8, when I bring this through, I get 2n plus 5 equals 5 plus 2n. When I subtract the 2n out, I end up with 5 equals 5. This is always true, so I write this as many solutions, or sometimes I can even write this as all real numbers. That's another way that they'll write that one. No solution or all real numbers would be another way to write those. Okay, no solution or all real numbers. All right, our next one is just a review on absolute values. Keep in mind, an absolute value means that you could have a positive answer or a negative answer would both produce positive 9. So in here, I could get n minus 1 equals positive 9, or I could get n minus 1 equals negative 9. That would make this a true statement. So now I'll have two equations. So absolute values, double your work. I'd add 1, I end up with n equals 10, or I'd add 1, and n equals negative 8. So my two solutions are 10 and negative 8. A lot of times they'll write it as in order from lowest to highest. They put this in what we call set notation. So these are the two possible answers, for that particular problem. All right, so this was like our whole first chapter was all that simplifying and solving equations. Then we moved on to lines. So our next chapter was on lines. We're talking slope. Keep in mind when I'm doing this, if it's rising, it's a positive slope. If it's dropping, it's a negative slope. If it's straight up and down, it's undefined. And if it's a flat line, it's 0. So those are our different scenarios. This is positive. And when I find the slope, I do rise over run. So I'll add 1, 2, 3, count that move, that's rise over run, 3 over 2. And again, because it's rising, it is a positive slope. So my final answer on that one is 3/2 for my slope. On the next problem, I have to write it in slope-intercept form, which means I have to find both the slope and the y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept form. I always start with a point on the y-axis. That is my y-intercept, and that one's at 2. Then I'll count to find my slope. So I need to find a point where it crosses. It looks like it crosses there. And then I do my slope on that problem. This is dropping, so I know my slope is negative. And when I do the rise over the run, it's 2 over 1. So I'd write that as negative 2 over 1, or just negative 2. That's my slope. Then I put it all together, y equals negative 2x plus 2 for my final answer. I don't know why I skipped the two problems on the top of the page, but for whatever reason I did. I've just flipped it in that order, but let's go ahead and do those, our slope problems. And so when we're getting into slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is our formula. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. So when I plug this in, I get 15 minus negative 6 over 4 minus 20, this is plus negative, so 21 over negative 16. If I can reduce it, I reduce it. It will be written as negative 21 over 16 in the answer. When you do slope, if you end up with 0 over a number, when you do your formula, your slope is 0. If you end up with a number over 0, your slope is undefined. Those are sort of special cases that we have for those particular slope problems. So this might be something you want to jot down on a piece of paper so you have that for your final when you take it. The last problem we're going to do today is this, where we are looking for the slope of the line. And so when I look at the slope of the line, it goes y equals, in that problem here we had here, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. And so when I look at this equation, -8 is the slope. That's all I have to write, not -8x, just the number in front of x, -8. If it was a fraction, my slope would be a fraction. All right, so that's part 1 of your review for your final. We'll finish the rest of this review on your virtual day tomorrow. And like I said, after that, then your job is to take your final on Thursday and do your makeup work on Friday. If you have any questions, let me know.